Okay, in previous class, I was discussing about this indexing and looping operation SIC program. Here, the main objective of this program is two strings are there, string one and string two. I want to copy the string one to string two. Okay, so already I told you the defining storage defining section. Now let us start the logic of our program. First, what I do is in register X, I load the variable 0, and the value of this variable 0 is 0 only, so the content of X becomes now 0. Remember, okay, X is a index register. Remember, the content of the register X is now 0. And then to make a loop, I use one label here, that is a move character. That label, just I have written it as MOVECH. You can write any label here, no problem. You can write your name also here, no problem. Okay, move ch is a just a label which indicates the beginning of my loop. Okay, then in this loop, the first statement is LDCH. What it does, it loads the character from the register, it loads the character from the memory to register A, correct? So memory is what here? The memory is string 1. Particularly, which character it takes from the string 1? The character which is present in the index 0. So because of that only I have written here, comma X, string 1, comma X. It takes the character from the string 1 which is present in the index 0. The value of value of index register X is 0 now. So that is a first character which is located in the index 0 in the string 1 will be taken and it will be loaded into the register A. Then next is STCH. From register A, that character will be stored into the string 2, particularly in string 2, in which index it will go and stored. It will be stored in the index once again 0 only, because right now the X value is 0. So the first character of string 1 will come and it will be stored into the string 2 as a first character, since the first index of that string 2 is also 0. Clear? Now next is very very interesting instruction, that is a TIX. Remember, TIX does two operations. It is just like our C programming I++ statement, increment statement. So TIX instruction increases the value of X by 1. So it means that you can understand it as it does X++. X was 0. After incrementing the value of X by 1, after executing X++, it will become 1. Okay. It is a first task what this TIX instruction does. Then what is that second task it does? After incrementing the value of X, the new value of X will be compared with the memory. Compared with the memory. In memory, what operand I have written here? 5. Okay. So here 5 is just a variable name. Inside this 5, which value is there? Already I told you here, for 5, one word was reserved. In that one word, which value already I have stored here? 5. So this 1 will be compared with the 5, and 1 is less than 5. Right? 1 is less than 5. If the condition is true, then this next instruction will be executed. That is jump. Where it should jump? Jump to move ch. Where is move ch? Here. You go back. Okay, you go back to the beginning of the loop. So when it is, if it is less than, jump less than, jump to move ch. If it is less than, of course 1 is less than 5, so it will go back here, and again it will take next character. So load ch string 1 comma X. Now the value of X is 1, correct? So from the string 1, from the index 1, whatever the character is there, it will be loaded into the register A. For example, if you consider the string 1 as a VSMIT, in first iteration it will copy V, in second iteration it will copy S, in third iteration it will copy M, in fourth iteration it will copy I, in fifth iteration it copies T, V, S, M, I, T. Like this, one by one, all the characters will be copied from string 1 to string 2. Okay, store character will move that data or character from register A to string 2 in the index 1. Like this, again, TIX will increase the value of x to 2, and 2 is again less than 5, jump less than. Jump less than means, of course, the condition is true, so jump to move ch. Like this, all the characters will be copied from string 1 to string 2. At last iteration, this condition will become false. It means that, suppose if x value is 4, still condition is true, 4 is less than 5, correct? So that fifth character is there, no last character, VSMIT, T, that T will be copied from string 1 to string 2. After that, again, x will be incremented by 1. Now the x value will be 5. In the next iteration, 5 is less than 5, condition will become false. Now JLT instruction will not be executed. Clear? So now the program will be completed. So like this, we have completed the copy and paste of the string from string 1 to string 2. Clear how it is? This is about indexing and looping. The same program, if I write in SIC how it looks like? See here, LDT. T is a general working register. Instead of T, you could take S also here. No problem, sir. Why you have taken T register only here? It's not like that. You can take one more general working register is available for me in SICXE. You can write here LDS also, no problem. Okay. Simply I have taken here LDT, and in that T I am directly storing the value 5 instead of again and again taking this 5 for comparison purpose during my looping. Okay. So this directly 5 I have stored it in loaded into the register T, and I have loaded the value 0 also directly into the index register X by using immediate addressing mode. Okay, then I start my loop with the LDCH string 1 comma string 1 comma X and STCH string 2 comma X. Very simple. Okay, so here instead of TIX, I am using TIXR. Why it is a TIX and it is a TIXR? Just remember, as just now already I told you the tricks and tip. So whenever your instruction is ending with capital R, you understand that it is a register to register instruction, like add R, SUB R, multiplication R, division R, and COMP R, compare. You are dealing with the two registers there. Clear? So here TIXR is what it means. Of course, it does same task done by TIX. It means it increments the value of X and it compares the value of newly incremented value of X with the operand or a memory. But here, instead of comparing that new value of X with the memory, it will compare that new value of X with one more register. That register is T. Are you understanding now? For the first time, X value was 0. Okay. The first index value was copied from string 1 to string 2. The next step is I want to increment the value of X. Now it became 1. And that 1, I should compare it with one more register, that is T. What is the content of register T? 5. So 1 is less than 5. So condition is true, so it jumps to move ch. Move ch. Then again the index from the string 1, which contain the index 1, the character which is present in the index 1 in a string 1 will be loaded into the register A, and it will be stored into the string 2 in the index 1. Next time what happens? Again TIXR will increases the value of X by 1. It means that X becomes 2, and that 2 will be compared with the register 5. Register 5 means it will compare it with the 5. 2 is less than 5, condition is true. Like this, the control jumps to again move ch, and again these all iterations will be completed. And once the X value becomes 5, 5 is less than 5, condition becomes false. At that time, program will be terminated. Clear? Now, no need to define this 0 or 5 something here, because directly these values I have taken here as an integer values with the help of immediate addressing modes, and I have loaded and stored them into some registers here. Very interesting and powerful registers like general working register T and one index register X. Immediate addressing mode is helping me a lot, okay, to reduce my size of my program and to make my program efficient and fast. Okay. So here storage defining section contains 3 columns. The first column is label or operand or variable str1. For this variable, byte assembler directive will reserve only 1 byte of data actually. Okay, but in this character constant in this third column, how many number of characters you are writing, based on that many number of bytes it will reserve again. Okay, suppose here I have written test string here. Instead of test string, you just imagine there VSMIT. Okay, VSMIT contains 5 characters, so this byte will reserve 5 characters, and in 5 bytes, and in each byte what all the characters it is going to store also I have to write here. In the first byte it will write V, and in second byte it will write S, and in third byte it will store M, in fourth byte it will store I, in fifth byte it will store T. So VSMIT will be stored in these 5 bytes. Okay, so then that 5 bytes or 5 characters is called as string 1. String 2, for string 2, I am using assembler directive RESB, reserve byte. Reserve byte will reserve how many number of bytes you are going to reserve, 5 bytes. But in those 5 bytes, what you are going to store, I have not written here because I don't know what is the content of string 1. Okay, so just I have written number of bytes I want to reserve for string 2, so I have written it as 5. Is it clear? Very interesting concepts. Okay. Next is one more example for indexing and looping. Same thing here. Instead of doing copying of string 1 and string 2, what we are doing is, here we are taking 3 arrays here, not ordinary variables or ordinary operands or labels. I am not taking here. I am taking 3 arrays here. Okay. So those arrays are alpha, beta, and gamma. Remember, okay, I have taken 3 arrays, alpha, beta, and gamma, and every array contains 100 words. Remember what I am telling, every array is of length 100 words. 100 words means how many bytes? 300 bytes. Remember, alpha contains 300 bytes, beta contains 300 bytes, gamma contains 300 bytes. Or else you can say like this also, alpha contains 100 words, beta contains 100 words, gamma contains 100 words. And the first word index starts from 0, and the index of last word is 99. Clear? I am talking about word, not byte here. Okay, the index of first word is 0, and the index of last word is a 99 in alpha, in beta, and gamma. Okay, so then what is the main task here? Why I am writing this program? By using these 3 arrays, in alpha array some data is there, some integer values are there. Okay, 100 words means 100 integer values are there. Clear? In every word one integer value is stored there, some any random integer you can consider there. And in beta also some random integers are present. Okay, then what I am to do here now, I have to take the first index of alpha, I have to take first index of beta, I have to add those integer values, and I have to store that addition or sum or result in the first index of gamma. I hope you are understanding. Then I have to move to second index of alpha. I have to take that value. I have to take a second index of beta. I have to add both of them, and I have to store the result or sum in the second index of gamma. Okay, those indexes are 0, 1, 2, 3, like this up to 99. I hope you understood these 3 arrays. First I define here, index is a one variable. Reserve word will reserve one word of memory. Okay, one word of memory for which variable? Index. Because here whatever the numbers you write, that many number of words will be reserved here for the variable index. I want only one word, so I have written one word here. And for alpha, I am reserving 100 words. For beta also 100 words, and for gamma also I am reserving 100 words. Then for zero variable, ZERO, instead of 0 you can write anything here, no problem. Okay, for zero variable, word assembler directive will reserve only one word. Okay, only one word, and in that one word, what value you are going to store? You are going to store 0. So the value of 0 variable is 0 now. Remember. Okay, so one more variable I want here for looping purpose, for comparison purpose. Okay, that is K300. Simply I have written it as K300. You can write any variable name here, no problem. K300 is a variable. For this variable or operand, I have reserved again one word of memory. In that one word of memory, in that one word of memory, uh, in that one word of memory, here, which value you are storing? You are storing one integer value, that is 300, which is stored in the form of 24-bit binary numbers. Okay, so remember. Then one more variable I want, that is 3, THRW. For this variable also, I am going to reserve one word, and in that one word, I am going to store one integer value, that is 3. So why you are going to use this 3? Of course, I think you understood. The first, to start my first iteration of my loop, I start my iteration with the index 0, of course. Next, why I have taken 300 also, I think you understood, because 100 words means 300 bytes. Okay, so for comparison purpose, for every byte to byte I want to move. Okay, so for that one I have taken here 300. Then for why you have taken this 3 here, it means that for every byte I cannot shift, I cannot move. I want to move from word to word here, correct? So in alpha, I take the value which is stored in the first word. I take a first value of gamma, then I add them and I store it into the, alpha plus beta, then I store the result into the gamma, correct? If I want to take a next number or next value of alpha, I have to move to next word here, not to next byte. I have to move to next word, not byte. So if you want to increase your index to the next location or next word, you have to increase the index value by 3, not by 1. If you increase by 1, it means that you are shifting to next byte, but you don't want to shift to next byte, you want to shift to next word. So I have taken this 3 here. Are you understanding? So here, let us start my program LDA 0. So 0 value will be loaded into the A, and that 0 will be loaded into the variable index. Now the content of index variable or value of index variable is 0, remember. And the beginning of loop is labeled with a label ADDLP, add loop. Okay. So first statement in my loop is LDX index. Okay. So here index value was whatever it was 0, that value will be loaded into the X register. Now remember, X value is 0. Then load the memory into the register A. In memory means what here? Alpha. In alpha, particularly which index? Index 0. Okay. In index 0, whatever the data was there, whatever the integer value was there in this alpha, that value will be loaded into the register A, and in the register A only I am going to add something. What I am going to add? I am going to take the index 0 of beta, and in that beta index 0, whatever the value is present there, that value I am going to add to this alpha. Then I store that value or sum into the register, into the array gamma, particularly where? In the register X index, that is 0 index, right? Now I want to increment my index value. How to increment my index value? Instead of TIX, what that TIX does, it increments the value of X by 1, and it compares that newly incremented new value of X with the memory or register. But I don't want to increment my X by 1. I want to increment my X by 3 here, because I want to shift to word, not byte to byte. Are you understanding? So here I add 3 to my index. Now 0 plus 3 will become 3. Now that 3 will be stored into the index variable. Now the value of index is 3. I hope you are understanding. Then compare. What you are going to do? Compare. You are going to compare that index value, okay, that index value 3 with 300, because what is the value of K300 variable? Here only I told you it is 300, right? So you are going to compare that 3 with 300. Of course, 3 is less than 300. So you will jump to add loop label. next iteration, jump less than. Of course, 3 is less than 300, so you will jump to add loop. Again, you will load the index value into this x. What is the index value now? 3. You will load that 3 into x will become 3, and you will load that data whatever it is present in the array alpha with the index 3 into the register A, and in that register A only you will add something. What you will add something? You will add some data from beta. Which data? The data which is present in the index 3. Okay, then you will add it and you will store that sum or result into the gamma array. In gamma array, particularly in which index you are going to store? X value is 3. So in the index 3, you are going to store the result. Next, again, you will load that index value 3 into the register A, and in that register A only, you will add again 3. That is, earlier already index value was 3. Now again you are adding 3. 3 plus 3, 6 it is. Now that 6 is present in register A, that 6 will be stored into the variable index. Now the value of index is 6. Like this, 0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, like this. For every time whenever you want to shift to next word, you will increment the value of index by 3. Okay, like this you will move from one word to one word until last word you reach. Last word is nothing but 90th word. Okay, so 90th word, and 90th word contains 300th byte, and once that byte condition, compare condition becomes false, then program terminates. Okay, like this we are going to do addition of two arrays and storing that sum into the third array. Clear? The same program if I write in SICXE with the help of immediate addressing mode, I use this 3, I load this 3 in S, and I load this 300 in T. Both the general working purpose, general working register S and T I have used here. Next, I can load the index 0 into the register X. Now I start my loop, that is LDA alpha comma X, that is from 0 to whatever the value is there from alpha, you will load it into the array index A, and in in register A, and in register A only you will add beta comma X, and you store that result into the gamma comma X. Next is very important, that is add R. Instead of only add, here I am using add R because I want to add two registers. Register to register instruction it is, particularly arithmetic instruction. Okay, arithmetic operation instruction. S comma X. S is a 3 and X is a 0. So both of them will be added, and the result will be stored in a X. Remember, very important point I am telling you, after performing this addition operation, the result will be stored in the second register. This is a R1 and this is R2. R1 is a S, R2 is a X. The result, whatever you are doing here, the addition, the sum will be stored in the second register X. Now the value of X is 3. Clear? Because 0 plus 3 is a 3, and that 3 is stored into the register X. You cannot write it as X comma S. You should write it as S comma X only, because you want to increment the value of X again and again whenever you shift to word, next word to next word, next word to next word. So index value you want to increment, so you are going to store that result in a X. Then you are going to compare. What you are going to compare? You are going to compare the value of X with T. X value is 3 and T value is also 300. 3 is less than 300. So because of that only, jump less than. So you will jump to add loop, and again you will take the value from the alpha which is present in the index 3, and you will take the value of beta which is present in the index 3. You will add them and you will store the result in the gamma in the index 3. Next statement, again you will add S comma X. S was already 3, it is fixed. S value is fixed. and x value is also 3 now. 3 plus 3, it is a 6. Now 6 is less than 300. Now the complete condition is true. Again, you jump back to add loop. Like this, x value will become 9, 12, 15, and 18 like this. And this 3 will be fixed for the resistor. Yes, like this, we will keep on increment the value of x until and unless the condition becomes false. This loop will be continuously executed, and once the condition becomes false, this program terminates. Clear? So this is also very interesting program which is written in SICXC for indexing and looping purpose. Now let us go to next example. Next example is to perform only input-output operations on SIC. And you remember here I have not shown how to perform input-output operations on SICXC. I have written this program only for SIC, not for SICXC, because input-output operation of SIC is very easy for me. If I replace the last byte of register A, I can perform read or write data. But input-output operations in SICXC can be performed with the help of input-output channels, with the help of the instructions TIO, SIO, and HIO, start input-output channel, test input-output channel, and halt input-output channel. So these input-output channels, here I cannot achieve it. If I write it, then it will be very complicated program for you to understand. So simply for your convenience purpose, I just explain you how we can perform input-output operations on SIC here. Okay, see here. First, I want to use a loop, and that loop is for inputting the data. So this loop is for input device. Input device, you can take it as a keyboard or mouse, and maximum number of times I take it as a character based input device, that is keyboard only. Okay, so and you can consider output device as a monitor screen. So for input device, for performing input data, that is read data, I use one loop here. So before performing RD, that is read data, I have to execute one instruction, that is TD, test device. Which device you are testing? You are testing input device. Which is that input device? I have defined here. Input device, I have taken just its variable name as INDEV. You can write anything here, no problem. INDEV, it is very easy for me to identify that I am telling about input device, or I am discussing about input device. So I have written it as INDEV. It is input device. For input device, I am going to reserve some amount of memory. How many amount of memory? I am going to reserve only 1 byte. Okay, remember. So that 1 byte reserves only 1 byte. And for reserving 1 byte, how I am going to reserve, and in that 1 byte what I am going to store, I have written here. I have written here X, and in single quotes I have written F1. What it is, just now in previous examples I told you, if it is a capital C followed by some characters which are enclosed inside a single quotes, then you should call it as a character constant. Okay, but here I have not written capital C, I have written capital X. Capital X followed by one code, and which is enclosed inside the single quotes. That code, just I have taken it as F1. F1 is nothing but it is a hexadecimal code for input device. Okay, hexadecimal code for input device, and that input device for me, it is a keyboard. So I have given a name to that input device keyboard, and that name is F1. Okay, and the names of these input device and output devices will be always in the form of hexadecimal. So I have written here capital X. So in this byte, I have stored F1. So the value of INDEV, that is INDEV, is a F1. Remember, the name of input device is F1. Next, byte. Again, I reserve 1 byte of memory for output device, and the name of that output device is in the form of hexadecimal code, and that hexadecimal code for the output device, it may be monitor or something. And here I am considering it as a monitor only, because I am going to read and write the data here. So I give a hexadecimal code to that output device as a 05. Of course, These are standard hexadecimal codes. I am not giving these hexadecimal codes. And these are fixed and standard hexadecimal codes for input device and output device. Hexadecimal code for input device is F1 and hexadecimal code for input output device is 05. Remember, okay? Then RESB. RESB reserve byte assembler directive will reserve 1 byte of memory for the variable data. And here, if you write 2 or 3, that many number of bytes, it will reserve, no problem. Reserve byte here, it is reserving only 1 byte of memory for the variable data. Let us very simple program for performing input output operation, TD, test the device. Which device I am testing? I am testing input device, and in the previous classes I told you the TD result will be stored in a capital CC, that is condition code. If the value of condition code is equal mark, then you understand that your input device is not ready to read the data. Okay, then you once again try and or you wait for that machine to become free or input device to become free. So JEQ, EQ means what? Jump to in loop if it is equal. Okay, jump to in loop if it is equal. Of course, if it is CC value is equal, then you jump back to in loop. In loop is only one statement. Just go back to your previous statement. Once again, you just test the device. Test device. Which device? Input device. Again, if it is equal, then again go back to in loop and execute this TD until and unless that device does not become free. Then you keep on executing this loop. Once that CC value is less than, okay, then only this JEQ instruction will be skipped and your control will come to RD. Okay, it means that CC value, if it is equal, device is not ready. CC value is less than, then the device is ready. Once that device becomes ready to read the data, then you execute RD, read data instruction. What this RD data does, this RD data does, RD instruction does, it reads the data from the device, from the input device. Suppose if a user is entering some characters, some input data from the keyboard, then that keyboard data will be read from that input device and that data will be stored in the register A. Even though in this RD instruction register A is not visible, actually whatever the data being a user you are entering through your keyboard, which is the input device, that characters or data will be loaded into the register A. Then I use a store character. I store the register A content into the variable data. Okay, like this, all the characters, whatever you are entering from the keyboard, suddenly it will be loaded into the A, and suddenly from the register A, it will be stored into the variable data. Clear? And the data size is what? The size of this variable data is 1 byte. Okay, one by one, all the characters, whatever you will press in your keyboard, all those data will be stored into this data variable like this. Okay, the next output loop. So after execution of this STCH, next executable statement is once again TD, and this TD is once again inside one more loop, that is output loop. Okay, now I am going to write the data. Here one character I have read, now I have to write the data. Next I should go to read the data, next character, and next character I have to write it here. Read, write, read, write, read, write. Like this, these two loops will be continuously executing. The next, once again, output data, whether it is output device is ready to write the data or not, you just check it. And again, if the CC value is equal, your output device monitor is not ready to write the data or display the data on your monitor screen. Now keep on executing this loop, OUTLP output loop. Keep on executing, keep on executing, keep on executing. Once the device, output device becomes free, then you execute this LDCH. Very interesting instruction, that is LDCH. What it does, it loads the value of data into the register A. Okay, it loads, it takes the value from data. Still here you had stored some data into the variable data, no? So that data it will take and it will load it into the register A. Next, WD. What that WD does, it takes the content of register A and it will write it into the output device. Clear now? Okay, from A, even though register A is not visible here, WD moves the data from register A to memory. Okay, that memory is nothing but output device here. Okay, like this on my monitor screen or output device, I can see the data, that is writing the data. Read data, write data, read data, write data. Like this, very simple program we can execute to perform input output operations on SIC. I hope you understood all the programs. Let us go to next last one, that is subroutine calling here. So this is also very easy program. Here, see here, jsub read. So as in previous class I told you, the same program may contain two or three parts there. Every part or piece of your program is called as subroutine. Okay, here one routine is there. From that main program to one called function is there, one function is there. So there, if I want to transfer my control, so I can write this program for SIC. JSub read. It means what? Jump to subroutine read. I want to read some data from input device, so I will jump to read subroutine. Okay, the subroutine is labeled here as a read, and inside this subroutine, first statement is LDX 0. It means 0 is loaded into the register X, which is index. Then R loop. The first loop starts from PD instruction. So the label I have given for this loop as a R loop, that is a read loop. Okay. Then TD, test the input device. If it is equal, input device is not ready. So go back and execute R loop. Once the device is ready, then your CC value will be less than, then the JEQ will not be executed. Directly RD will be executed. Read the data from input device and store that data from a register A to the one more variable, that is a record, and particularly which index? Index 0. Okay. Then similarly TIX. X will be incremented by 1, and the X value is right now it is 1, and that new value of X1 will be compared with the 100. 1 is less than 100. Then if it is less than, then go back and execute the R loop. Like this, all the characters, 100 characters will be read from the input device. After reading all 100 characters from the input device, next, once the condition becomes false, next instruction to be executed is R sub, return from subroutine. Return from subroutine means what here? Already you are in a subroutine, read subroutine. So after execution of this subroutine, you should go back to your callee. It means who was called this function or this subroutine. You should go back to your caller. Okay. Then this R sub is nothing but return from subroutine. As I already told, return from subroutine, whenever you execute, you will go back to your main calling subroutine. Okay. So here, after jsub read instruction, whatever the instruction may be present here, I have written that dash dash or dotted dot here. After jsub, whatever the instruction is there, that instruction will be executed. Okay. After R sub, the control goes back to the instruction which is followed by jsub. Okay. Then again it continues the execution of this routine. Okay. This is just one small subroutine I have shown here. And if you see storage defining part, I am storing, I am reserving 1 byte of memory for input device, and that input device hexadecimal code is F1, and I am reserving 100 bytes for record variable, and I am reserving only one word for variable 0, and that one I am going to store 0 for indexing purpose just, and K100, for K100 I am going to reserve one word. In that one word I have stored a integer value 100. Clear? So if you write the same program in SICXC, it looks like this. JSub read, in read LDX, instead of ZERO, directly I have loaded this 0 value, integer value into the register X with the help of immediate addressing. And then R loop, TD input device, JEQ, R loop, RD input device, STCH record comma X. Everything is same except immediate addressing mode and TIXR. Okay. So this TIXR increments the value of X by 1, and that new value of X is not compared with memory or operand. It will compare that content of register X or new value of X with the one more register, that is T. It means that the register T and X are compared. Okay, if it is less than, it will again go back and execute the loop, otherwise it will come to R sub. After execution of this R sub, it will go back to the instruction which is followed by J sub. Sir, how it goes back to that particular instruction? See, in the previous class I told you, when you execute a J sub instruction, before jumping to read subroutine, the program stores the return address in one particular register. That register is called as capital L, linkage register. Okay, so it stores that return address. So where I should come back, the control return stores that return address in the linkage register. Because of that linkage register, help of linkage register, control goes back to the instruction which is next to this J sub or followed by this J sub. Okay, after execution of return from subroutine, control goes back to the instruction which is next to this J sub, and again it continues its execution in this routine or subroutine. Clear? And here instead of defining 0 and k100, I have defined only input device and record here. Input device 1 byte and its hexadecimal constant for input device is f1, and for variable record I am reserving 100 bytes. Clear? So very interesting concept of SIC and SIC-XC. Just go through these all programs and try to understand the logic of the program in one by one, all the lines. Very easy programs. Okay, if you don't understand anything, then you call me or send me a message in my WhatsApp, then I will reply. Clear? Now let us go to the next chapter, that is assemblers. So now I start that new chapter, very important for you. Still now just I discussed about the difference between system software and application software, and what are the examples, and I have discussed two machine architectures, SIC machine architecture and SIC-XC machine architecture. Whatever the 7 steps you explain in SIC, the same steps you should explain for SIC-XC also. And I also discussed some programming examples for SIC as well as SIC-XC. Okay. Now let us move to next important topic, that is assemblers. Assembler is a translator, or it is a software which converts the assembly level programs to machine level program. Okay. So here there are basic functions are there, basic responsibilities are there as for assembler, what it does, what it should do. Okay, so every assembler, it should perform these two tasks. Here I have written with a tick mark here. These are the two basic functions every assembler should does. Okay, should do. What it is? First, it should translate the mnemonic operation codes. Remember, in fact, the main purpose of assembler is to convert the assembly level program into machine level program. So we should translate or convert mnemonic operation codes. Mnemonic operation codes means what here? You know, I had written a instruction on my board on that day in my class. Instruction contains 2 columns. First column contains opcode. In short, I am calling it as opcode. Actually, it is an operation code. And second column is an operand column. Okay. So that opcode is nothing but mnemonic opcode, mnemonic instruction. That instruction first we have to translate it into machine language equivalent. Okay. Machine language equivalent. Within 5 minutes, this meeting will be completed. Once again, you rejoin it. Another 1 or 2 slides are there. I will complete them. Okay. Then at 12:30, I will leave you. Okay. See how to convert these or translate these mnemonic operation codes to their machine language. Also, I already told you. So you should refer Appendix A. In Appendix A, you will get the list of instructions and those respective opcodes. Okay. First thing, we have to translate those mnemonic operation codes to their machine language equivalent. Then second task, what that assembler will do, it assigns machine addresses to these symbolic labels. Okay, machine addresses which are this programmer, we are using some labels or some variables, some operands in my program. So for those labels or operands or symbols, this assembler should assign some addresses. It means that it should reserve some memory for those operands, and those addresses will be assigned by this assembler. Is it clear? These are the basic fundamental functions, two functions which will be done by the assembler. So apart from these two basic functions, in fact, it does so many other things also. These are just, I am telling you, two basic things what assemblers do. Okay, beyond this most basic level, the features and design of an assembler depend upon the source language. What is this source language? Source language is nothing but the program what you are writing in assembly level. That is source code. Okay, and this source code, it translates or it converts into machine level or low level. That machine level converted program or language is called as machine language or low language. Okay, and that code is called as object code. Remember, source code will be translated into object code. Source program will be translated or converted into object program or object code. Clear? So here we will see some other basic assembler functions. Okay, so other basic functions. Let me do one thing. I continue this topic in next class only, because it will not be completed in 5 or 10 minutes. So I will start this next topic in next class only tomorrow. Now I take attendance. Just answer your attendance. Rohit,
Present, sir.
Samiksha, Abhishek,
Present, sir.
Akanksha, Akash, Alfia,
Present, sir.
Aniket, Archita,
Yes, sir.
Sumaya,
Present, sir.
Bhakti,
Yes, sir.
Digambar,
Yes, sir.
Fiza,
Present, sir.
Gangadhar, Gauri,
Yes, sir.
Geeta,
Yes, sir.
Ame, Nandini,
Yes, sir.
Neeta, Padma Bhushan, Vaibhav, Vaibhav, Sakshi Pawar,
Present, sir.
Pranali, Prathamesh, Rushikesh Patil, Rutuja Patil,
Yes, sir.
Sakshi,
Yes, sir.
Sanvi, Sandeep, Shashank Patil, Shivani, Shubham,
Yes, sir.
Shivani,
Yes, sir.
Shubham, Sita,
Present, sir.
Soumya,
Yes, sir.
Saurabh,
Yes, sir.
Suraj,
Yes, sir.
Tejaswini, Jabde, Tejaswini Patil,
Yes, sir.
Ujwala,